A bizarre new phenomenon changes how humans interact with one another. I discuss this and more on today's episode. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today it is Short Story Tuesday, so I wanted to talk about an interesting and definitely unusual short story that I found lately. One that is about rain and lying. I am referring to The Water That Falls on You from Nowhere by John Chu, which was published in 2013. For those that don't know, John Chu is a Taiwanese American writer who's been getting his work published for about 10 years or so. He's only published a couple stories here and there, done some translation work as well. But even though he's published only a few things, it should be noted that this short story actually won the Hugo Award in 2013, which is a pretty big deal if you believe that the Hugo Award is significant. I know some people have issues with that award and its limitations, but it seems pretty significant for John Chu here. John Chu is also gay, which feels significant because I'm talking about this during Pride Month. I think I intentionally sought out a gay short story writer because I feel like that's an area that's always missing during Pride Month. Especially in mine, because it's very hard to find specific short stories, especially thematically appropriate ones for this channel. But here is one that is definitely appropriate. So very fascinating writer, and I do hope I encounter more of their work in the future. But without further ado, let's talk about The Water That Falls on You from Nowhere, which is a very fascinating title. I will do a summary, a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. So The Water That Falls on You from Nowhere focuses on Matt, a gay Chinese man, in a world where a recent phenomenon has happened where every time you lie, a varying amount of water falls on you. It seems like that the amount of water changes depending on the significance or the extremeness of the lie. Whereas like a little bit can fall on you, it could actually make you drier if you're telling the truth. Like a whole torrent can fall on you and just soak whatever you're sitting on as well, which it would certainly create more difficulties for humanity here. But Matt is currently in a relationship with a man named Gus who studies Greek and is described as very hunky and well-toned, to the point where Matt is wondering why a guy like Gus is even with him. But they do seem to be in love, although Matt isn't sure where this relationship is really going in the future. But at the beginning of the story, we see that Gus tells Matt that he loves him, and no rain happens, which makes Matt a little bit uncomfortable, especially because Gus can just make declarative statements without worrying, while everyone else has started hedging their sentences and speaking in specific ways so as to not be caught in any lies. And Matt says, oh, I can't believe you love me. I clearly don't love you as much as you love me. And an immediate torrent falls on Matt, which shows that these two are really love each other and want to be together. They're considering moving in together. But Matt is hesitant to get married, and it's because Matt's told his family that he's in a relationship. He just hasn't come out to them yet. So they don't know that the person that he's with is a man, and there's some cultural expectations associated with that. So Matt's unsure when he wants to come out, and Gus is ready to wait, but Matt is insistent that the next visit over Christmas will be one where where he comes out to his family. Matt and Gus indeed visit the family, and Matt's sister is immediately mad. The other family members can't really tell. They think that Gus is just a roommate, but the sister knows, and the sister says that Matt is expected to give his parents grandchildren, and it'll embarrass the family if he doesn't. And the sister says she's not going to let Matt come out to the family at this time, that she'll be hounding him the whole time he's there. To make matters worse, the in-laws are there, the sister's husband's parents, and this is incredibly embarrassing if he were to come out at that point. So she says he's not coming out, and she also questions the relationship, saying that it might not work out and that Gus is bound to cheat on him. But Rain comes down on her at that point, suggesting that she doesn't believe Gus will really cheat, which fills Matt with some comfort, but he still has to deal with the fact that he needs to come out. And finally, he does say to his family that he is gay. He comes out, and this angers his sister right away, who demands that he leave. But as he's leaving, he finds out that his mother is accepting. She specifically says that he's always been a lonely boy and that he hopes Gus provides him some company, which is a beautiful moment there. But Matt still feels really guilty and unhappy about all of this. So they go back to a motel, they talk, and Matt specifically points out that he didn't want to go visit his family because he knew this whole lying phenomenon would catch up to him, and he'd be at a risk of losing his family, which he loves. But Gus points out that there's always an opportunity to reconnect with his sister, and that they can go back the next day and try to make things better, and hopefully they can still be pretty close. And at that point, Gus gives Matt space because he thinks an argument is going to take place, and he wants to be in the good graces with one another. And so he just leaves the motel, and Matt feels a bit more comfortable at that point, especially underneath the blanket and whatnot. And as the story comes to a close, he says, "I love you, Gus," and no rain falls on him. And so finally, he's able to actually say those words, and indicating that maybe he's overcome this obstacle. And that's where the story ends there. In terms of analysis, there is quite a bit worth talking about with the water that falls on you from nowhere. Which itself, when you think about it, is a lie, because they know at this point that it doesn't fall, like it falls on you from nowhere, but it doesn't just fall on you, it falls on you when you lie. And so we may be trying to distance ourselves from that phenomenon. But one of the things that Chu is talking about here is that of lying. The new rain phenomenon has changed how humans interact with each other, as I said in the introduction. It specifically changed honesty and lying. In order for people to get around that, they now talk in general terms, not specifically saying anything exact, but just generally talking. They use weasel words like sometimes or maybe. They don't, again, they're not making declarative statements, except for Gus for some reason. But that means he's probably just comfortable in who he is, and he doesn't need to lie to people. Or he's not sentient enough or cognizant enough to really think that he has to lie to people. And then they also ask questions. They phrase their sentences in the form of questions in order to maybe force the question on another person and make them tell the truth. But it's changed how we communicate, because if it rains on you every time you lie, you're not going to be able to hide the truth anymore. And a lot of people are going to get in trouble, especially from those who, people might be suspicious of them of one thing or another. But this lack of rain can also reveal hard truths. At the beginning of the story, we see Matt uncomfortable with Gus's love. We see Gus says, "I love you," and Matt's dry. He seems to be warming up, no water on him at all. And Gus says that, and Matt's unhappy because it's how can someone love me? How can they didn't have to lie about it or anything? That's strange. And then Matt is uncomfortable, and so he says, I know I don't love you as much as you love me. And it starts raining on them. And so Matt's uncomfortable with saying point blank, "I love you," which we find out is due to the fact that he's hiding or in the closet from his family. And if he's out loud about it, that might cause some trouble with that family. And so that lack of rain kind of highlights the uncomfortable nature of telling the truth or lying even. And so Chu has essentially turned this water in an attempt to reveal character discomfort and even highlight the character's personal journey, because at the end of the story, Matt straight up says, "I love you, Gus," to no one in particular, although Gus is not in the room, so that could very well be a lie. He could mean any Gus or something like that. It's his personal journey where he wasn't able to say it before, and now he is, and there's no rain on him. and so that it's his slowly like coming to terms or coming to understand that it's okay for him to be gay. It's not going to hurt things with his family. So I like how Chu is using this rain, this water here. Chu also utilizes cultural expectations here. He is Taiwanese, so I wouldn't say he's like 100% knowledgeable about Chinese culture, although Taiwan and China may be the same kind of cultures. It just drifted apart by like 60 or 70 years. Don't take me for my word here. I don't know a lot about geopolitical issues between Taiwan and China. But what is clear is that Matt is expected as a Chinese man to get married and to a woman, most likely, and provide his parents with grandchildren. These are the expectations. The firstborn male has to carry on the family legacy because the woman can't do that because she's now part of her husband's family. And so in order to avoid embarrassment, in order to make his parents proud, traditionally he has to give them a child. And this is spelled out by the sister in the story. Allow me to read you an interesting quote from this. Your job, Heta Pai, my full name in Chinese, including family name, just in case it isn't clear she's furious at me, is to give our parents a grandson. Very simple quote, but that gets at the sort of cultural expectations that we find in this story. And the sister is very mad. She's like, you always do what you want, and you don't really worry about embarrassing the family. Whereas there's a lot of expectations on me as the firstborn. And so essentially, Matt's sexuality is seen as an insult to the sister and potentially the family at large. Although we find out that maybe because enough time has passed, that the mother is more accepting of Matt's sexuality, and perhaps the father they might have guessed at it a while back, especially because it's been quite some time, and he's no longer young. You're eventually going to figure out that maybe someone isn't as interested in the opposite sex as you might think. But I do think there's some underlying homophobia. Might be a cultural thing, although I don't think necessarily that the Chinese culture is homophobic, but that expectation might lead to some sense of homophobia, especially the fear of embarrassing the parents in that way, and so you try to push away someone who might cause that embarrassment. And a lot of the reason Matt is not out is because he doesn't want to lose his family. Because the rain it falls down on you when you lie, the water falls down on you when you lie, like there's not a lot of opportunities for Matt to lie to the family. They usually ask the question, where are my children? Where are my grandchildren? And they might ask further questions like, why aren't you with a woman? And Matt knows, he's even said, like, he's avoided his family since the rain has started falling when you lie, because he knows that question is going to come up and he's not going to be able to hide it anymore. And he thinks, well, if I go there and they find out, they're not going to be accepting of me. And so there's that innate fear, that cultural fear, I think, that you might lose your family and lose the people that you love. Like, being with Gus is great, but having your family and being connected with them, even though like his sister isn't initially accepting, there's that hope that she can be with him in the future. So I do like how Chu like introduces or entwines culture into this story. Another interesting aspect of the story is Matt and Gus's relationship. There's some initial doubts with it, and I think there's even some doubts near the end of the story. And Matt's sister even puts that fear out there that Matt and Gus's relationship might not last forever, and that's certainly a possibility. It might be the case that long term Matt and Gus aren't really destined to work out. But I think throughout the story, it's kind of indicated that Matt and Gus love each other right now in the here and now, and it's not really worth thinking about like long term. What matters is who you love now, and it's not worth giving up that relationship to feel some comfort that you're able to hide from your parents or something like that. And Gus's support is also something that matters. So in the here and now, this relationship is very important. And what Matt's sister is saying, that it might not work down the road, it's not really something that you need to think about. And that's something that often comes up with love, is that you love who you love now. And if it doesn't work down the road, our brains aren't really wired to think about that. So very interesting sort of discussion of a potential relationship falling out down the road. Anyway, those are my thoughts on The Water That Falls on You from Nowhere by John Chu. Pretty high quality short story. One that introduces a new aspect to sort of human relationships, and an interesting sort of addition to the science fiction canon. I certainly enjoyed the writing and the overall setting of the story, so I definitely recommend it to you out there. I'll put a link to it in the description. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would love to hear from you. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that other people can find out about this short story or this author if they do not already know about them. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and lying-based travels. Farewell.